Osiris.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Goose Chicks Podcast, an all-women-led show focused on the band Goose and the community that supports them. I'm Leslie Mack, producer and co-host, and this is a very special episode because we are so excited to be joined by Goose's merchandise manager, the one and only Naveed Quarterman, to talk about the whirlwind of managing merchandise for a band that's growing so rapidly. But first, let's do a quick check-in today. I have my co-host Alexius. How are you doing today?
I am awesome today. I'm super excited about today. Super excited.
Absolutely. And our amazing contributor, Chelsea's here as well. What's going on, Chelsea?
Oh, everything is so amazing having Naveed on today. I'm so excited to hear from him.
It's the best. I'm so literally, we've been effervescing all week. We're wearing our official Goose merch just to show how much we support Naveed. So yeah, we're very excited to talk with him. But of course, first, let's get through our running segments that we have every show. And we always start with How Do We Get Down, which is a little deep dive into some lyrics from a Goose song. And this week, we're going to talk about the Empress of Organos, which we were going to talk about last week, but Ashley's interview was so juicy. We kind of truncated our this particular segment. So we moved it to this week to talk about. So just some general info about the song. It is an original Vasudo song, which is great. They played it 10 times. So it was played 10 times as Vasudo. And Goose has played Empress 33 times, including the New Year's Eve set that we covered on the show a couple weeks ago. And Array Below has performed it once. So that's a lot of the stuff that goes into it. Musical cues and crowd participation. This is one we all get pretty hyped for, especially the end of the chorus. And we love singing it together. And from my perspective, anyways, it's always a moment where we're all like, we'll like put our arms around each other or like just really be like into the people that we're with, especially, you know, we say, oh, what a day to be living. Like that to me is I don't know, it's the ethos of Goose fandom. Like that is kind of what we bring to shows. And so I love that and those musical cues and all of us getting excited. So let's just do a quick round robin. I had a couple of takeaways or a couple of questions. So the first is, what do you take away from the song when it's played or you listen to it? I'm going to start with our resident Empress, Chelsea, for this one.
Oh, I love this song so much. The song just makes me feel so good. To me, it's like not letting anything get you down. Like, you know, the rain can be seen as negative sometimes. And it's just like, no, that's amazing. Let it rain. And so to me, it's just kind of like nothing can get me down as long as I just am, you know, happy within myself and finding that joy within myself. So it's just, it's so amazing.
It's such a great song. Alexius, how about you? What do you what's your takeaway when you listen to it or it comes on? What's it do for you?
So I was talking to a few friends because there are many ways that you could take this, but the best one that we were talking about was like, you know, that it means like taking your struggles and your anxieties and that they can be turned another way. But we've got the love and the rhythm to get through that. We've got the power and the strength to get through that and to walk through those hard times and to turn it into fill our cup with harmony and, you know, and just walking together. So I get that from it. It's just positivity and just super positivity to start your day, to go about your day and, you know, to keep going even through your anxieties. That's what I take away from it.
I love that. I'm sort of a mixture of both, but the thing that I always think about is it does make me think of my anxieties, and I have general anxiety disorder, so it's something I deal with pretty regularly. But with this song, what it really always says to me is like, most things in life are about perspective. And so that's what I always take away from this song is like, how are we gonna, if something's making me feel a certain way, how do I have to turn it? Where do I have to kind of move it so that I can see it differently and I can react to it differently? And so that's what I get from this song. It's always that pushing yourself to be like, don't just accept the thing that makes you feel bad. You can walk away from it, certainly, but if it's something you want to continue engaging in, what do you have to do to like get through it? And yeah, the love.
I love that,
helps,
Leslie.
sure.
Oh, that's deep and gives me goosebumps for sure, for sure.
Okay, so which lyrics really hit you? I'll start. I love I'm the Empress of Organos. I'll tell you where your bad thoughts go. I've got the seeds to make them grow, but I've locked them deep down below. I love that because, again, it comes back to that perspectives thing, which is like you can have bad things and you can just decide to water them and let them flourish, or you can decide to bury them and let them not get air, not give them the life that they are trying to steal from you. And so that's what I always get from this. Like I'm going to take that bad shit. We're going to put it in the ground and it's not going to touch you anymore. So those are my favorite lyrics from the song. How about you, Chelsea?
What I chose was the sky would open up. We'd stop to fill our cups with harmony. Because like you were saying, Leslie, going back to the perspective thing, to me, this sets the tone of the rain is not a bad thing. Like we embrace the rain. We fill our cups. It gives us, we need water to survive. Like thinking back to, how the rain is actually a positive thing in our life. And it sets that tone for later on when it's like, the rain's going to grow. It's going to make your seed grows. And it's like, no, we love the rain. We already said it fills our cups with harmony. So that's why I love that. And just also when you're listening to the song or when you're at a show and that part comes on and, everyone lifts everyone lifts their cups and it fills it with harmony in that moment. Yeah. So I love that.
Alexius, what are your favorite Organos lyrics?
So my favorite is with the road and the map behind, start talking about a different line. When we were free, I told Bessie one day, I felt so far away from home. And it just like kind of tears me up and stuff because for so long, like I lost the girl who I was, that girl who I wanted to be. And, one day I was like, oh, wow, this is why I'm not happy is because I lost my path and I lost my way. And so, so when I started looking at who I was internally, that girl came back and I felt like I was home again, like I just felt like, oh, this is the girl that I know. This is where I'm so happy. This is where I feel comfortable. And so, so it's just been, so that's a beautiful, lyric to me.
I love that lyric. Oh, Alexis, you're making me, don't make me cry. I've make up.
Didn't mean to. I tried to hold strong, but my voice started cracking.
No, you're good. You're good.
But okay. I agree with you. That feels so far from home. Like that really, you can feel that when you feel like you've gotten away from yourself or you're at a point where like it just doesn't feel right. It's just not, this isn't where I'm supposed to be. You feel so far from home like that. I love that lyric too. It really gets you.
Yeah, it's so good. Okay, last question about Empress, which is what energy does Empress bring to a set? Alexius, I'm going to throw this to you first.
This song brings such amazing and positive energy to a set. Peter clapping and getting the whole, whole room going. Everyone just like you said, just smiling and dancing and looking around at each other and just reminding each other of why we're here, and this is it's just such a powerful, positive energy because life is so hard. And when we're in the concerts, we're just like, oh, this is what it's all about. And that positivity, and it just fills our cup. It's that thing that fills our cup. So when this song comes on, everyone's like, yes, and you just walk out of there and every time it's just blown out the water. It's the best Empress till the next Empress. So it brings a very positive energy that everyone's always looking forward to it.
So true. Chelsea, how about you? What do you feel when we all realize that Empress is on?
Well, like Alexia said, it's just such a positive, upbeat song that just makes you feel so good. But as soon as that everyone's just like, yep, we all just did it. We all just danced.
Y'all can't see us, but we were all dancing.
That's what it is. It's just like you can't help but not like feel joy and want to dance and just celebrate that you are capable of being a happy, joyous person at all times. And so anyways, that dun 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 always just everyone's got to dance. There's no way around it.
I always call this the family song. Goose has dance songs, Goose has groovy songs, Goose has love songs. This I always call the family song because to me it's the one where we all are like, who's next to me? Who am I with? Like it's that like, yeah, we're all here together. And so for me, that's always the energy that comes up. It's why I love a closer, an Empress closer, because it leaves us in that like joyous communal, feeling. I mean, all those shows do, but I just think it's such a great closing song too.
It's so beautiful to look around and see people's smiles and just, that negative energy wash away and be filled with positive energy. So it's just what you're saying. It's just amazing. And to end the night on it just makes it even better because we walk away remembering all those smiles and that beauty. And, and that's what gets us through to the next show.
I can't wait till we have somebody from one of the band members on the show because I really want to know what they feel in those moments when it's clear we're having such a communal experience on the from the audience. Anyways, I digress. I'm going to throw this over to Alexius for our Goose Talk, which I think, since we have Naveed on, is going to talk about some merch conversations here.
We are. I'm going to spill the tea on concert posters. And so today, the history of the concert poster art. In 1898, J.O.B. Cigarette Papers had a poster by Czech-born Parisian artist Alphonse Mucha. Posters were originally a way of advertising for events, propaganda, recruitment, and commercially. The modern concert poster has roots in cardboard posters for boxing matches. As blues, R&B, and country music moved into a more commercialized sphere in the 1950s, concert promoters borrowed the style from boxing posters, which often featured bolded names or pictures of the artist paired with bright colors to catch the eye. Although when Elvis Presley became the king of rock and roll, there was little need for posters to advertise his shows, as was also the case with the rise of the Beatles and Bob Dylan in the early 60s. The fact that posters were used less for Elvis, the Beatles, and Dylan once they became megastars makes the few posters highly collectible and often very rare. In 1966, pioneering psychedelic poster artists Stanley Mouse and Alton Kelly, who worked for the famed Family Dog Collective, borrowed Mucha's J.O.B. Woman for use in a poster advertising a concert at San Francisco's Avalon Ballroom on October 7th and 8th, 1966. Mouse gave the image to the appropriate psychedelia, adding green hair and a two-tone purple dress and skin, known more commonly as the girl with the green hair. These posters are just one example of the many ways that tie poster art history together. Both J.O.B. poster and the girl with green hair are selling something. One rolling papers and the other a concert. Posters can advertise, but they can also be art. Posters invoke ideas and feelings, compelling the viewer to step into the image or take it home with them. Family dog art collector Chet Hams also saw parallels between them, the birth of the modern poster art and the turn of the century France and in the psychedelic concert poster art scene in San Francisco in the 60s. Victor Moscoso, excuse me on these names, Stanley Mouse, Alton Kelly, Rick Griffin, and Wes Wilson are collectively known as the Big Five, along with Bonnie McLean. These artists, just as much as the great San Francisco bands like The Dead and Airplane, were at the forefront of ushering an artistic revolution that became a cultural revolution, firmly establishing a counterculture. It's no coincidence that the Summer of Love took place in 1967 when these artists were at the height of their powers. And that is where the art of concert poster began. Now that we know a little bit about the history, let's go over some things to know about posters before buying them and heading to the merch table. And a few tips if you're thinking about possibly selling them in the future too. So there are multiple variants. There are paper and foil variants. Foils are more expensive than the paper variants. I prefer the foils because you can turn them different ways and see different things. Also, foil and variants are usually the most sought after, mostly because they usually have a lower number of prints made and less made, ding, 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 the more they are sought after. personally, I just think they're super psychedelic, and I like them better than the paper versions. But I'll take whatever I can get. I'm not going to be choosy.
Amen.
You got to get what you can get. The editions, there's the show edition, which you can only get if you're at the show. There's a web variant, and these are the posters that are available online. They drop at a certain time of day, the same day of show. And you kind of have to get in line online, if that makes any sense, because they sell out within like 2 minutes. These are highly sought after posters. There's also the artist proof version, which is the AP version. The artist will have their version that they drew in their online store. These are usually extremely expensive, but extremely valuable. And then there's the uncut version. This is usually the poster on a 2-night run, and it's one of the very few and literally uncut versions that has both nights posters. So it's 2 nights and 1 poster. These are also super valuable. On these also, there is numbering and signatures. The number and signatures from the artist on prints make them better because the artist has signed them, and the same with the numbering system. It just makes it easier to know how many have been printed of each variant and if they are legit or not. Also, if you can get one of these signed by the band, you have the golden egg for sure. Here are some of the framing and selling tips. Now, here's where I'm not going to go too much into it because this is a rabbit hole, is it not, y'all? It's a rabbit hole.
Honestly, it's a rabbit hole.
I was going to say, I feel like we need Drew's guess.
Yeah, we may need to do a separate just poster conversation with some poster aficionados because they take this stuff very seriously, and it's a lot of work figuring out what you want it to look like. Do you want them to be uniform? Where are you going to put them? All the things you think about when you put anything up in your home, right? Except for this is even more because these are valuable things. And also they're memories that you're putting up on your wall. I know for me, I like to have them up. So when I walk through my foyer, I'm like, oh, whatever catches my eye, I'll just remember something from that show. And it kind of keeps me in that space of thinking about these moments that we've all shared together.
Exactly. So I actually did speak with Drew about that. He is on the Goose Print Collectors Facebook page. And I was speaking with him about all this and different things. And he said that he would be happy to come on and, do more of a talk about this because some of these things are, you do have to lay them flat and make sure to straighten the edges. And, I put paper under mine while flattening. I don't know if you do, Leslie or
and
Chelsea.
I recommend 2 days to flatten, minimum 48 hours. They need time. Yeah.
Definitely. And when framing these, make sure to use spacers. This is one big thing that I've heard, to keep space between the poster and glass so it doesn't stick to the glass.
Particularly with the foils. That's a particular issue with the foils because if they adhere, they'll actually pull the foil parts off if you try to move it. And this is, again, assuming you are going to want to reframe the posters, right? Some I have a few. I said to Jim, you're not going to reframe that. So don't worry about it. Just put it up. It'll be fine.
I have all of one poster and it's a foil variant, and I don't think I followed these rules. So
well, it's okay. You can go back. It takes years. It takes years for that particular kind of damage to be done.
Okay, I'm going to check it. Yeah.
So you're totally, you're totally good.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, oh, wow, this is learning a lot about them. So I've learned the hard way. The longer they stay in the tube, the longer it takes to flatten. And this, y'all, is a horrible mistake. Just grab some spacers. If you have to, a cheap frame offline, put the spacers in between it until you can afford a good frame or however you want to do it, because it's horrible. I'm in the process of
leave them flat. We'll do that till we get the frames in. We'll just leave them, with books on top of them and just flat until we're ready to frame them instead of storing them. Basically, we just use the tubes for transport. And once we get home, they come out of the tubes immediately. That's how we do it anyways.
Right. And so another big one is keep off of some sunny walls if you're going to sell them, because they'll fade and stuff. So, but again, we'll do a future show about this because posters are very collectible, very high demand, and not just in Goose, but in many jam bands. And like I said, Drew, he is one of the administrators on Goose Print Collectors, but he also works with Billy Strings and Kitchen Dwellers and a lot of different bands. So he has a great knowledge of, of how all this works. And So, but instead of ending on the rabbit hole, I'm just going to leave you the testimonial from Drew. I met him at the Fox Theater, had no idea that's who it was. And we had such a great day of talking. And then when we were talking about this, I was like, I know you. So again, one of those awesome Goose things of how small world you end up knowing the person. And so this is what he says. This is his testimonial to it. I personally love the poster game because of the people I meet. The relationships I make are forever. Don't get me wrong, the art is huge, but deep down, the relationships are what drive me. Some of my best friends I've met in line waiting for posters. Also, these prints remind me of what shows I was at, and it brings back memories of them. My most prized and memorable show prints I hang in my room. So the first thing I see every day when I wake up or go to bed are those prints. It puts a smile on my face every time I see them. Memories keep people focused, help drive us through the rough times. And just let's repeat that again. Memories keep people focused and help drive us through the rough times. Posters are much more than merch. They're memorabilia. They're art. It's a beautiful way to walk down memory lane. I just thought that was so beautiful. Thank you, Drew. I just thought that was awesome.
That's so beautiful.
I love that.
This is a really good episode, Joe. I just want to say we're giving the people all the things. Okay, thank you, Alexis, for that deep dive on posters. So amazing. I'm so excited.
Sorry, I was all tongue tied.
No, that was great. And Naveed will be happy. He won't be hearing this part of the show until it airs. So I'm happy that he'll get to hear that as well. Okay, on to our fan art spotlight. Chelsea, who are we spotlighting this week?
Yeah, so today I wanted to highlight one of our fellow Goose Chicks, Orion Jewelry Design by Val Wallace. Val is so awesome. She's always posting in the Goose Chicks group. So Orion Jewelry Design is handcrafted jewelry, which focuses on building a connection to nature. They are also a proud partner of the Western Sun Foundation. So Val has been doing some work with them. So excited for that. So it is jewelry. She does a lot of bracelets, rings, pendants, and she actually did a Seekers bracelet series. So Seekers on the Ridge is a Goose song. So it's based off of that. And I just kind of want to read how she describes this bracelet series because I thought it was beautifully written. So she says, this series is a new exploration, a translation of the live music experience into the physical and wearable realm. The music of Goose speaks of a deep grounding to the earth that is paralleled by an undeniable crescendo of energy, building together, feeding itself into a perfect moment of timelessness. Peaks of wild, fearless, and energetic bursts, buoyant light, and vivid color without losing sight of the earth beneath it.
I want some bracelets. I gotta check this out.
And they're so beautiful. Yes. No, it's not sold out. I was just on their website yesterday. They're beautiful. There's like tons of different versions. She lists what stones are in them and everything. So beautiful, beautiful. She has Go ahead, Alexis.
Oh, I have some of her bracelets and she does them like to your size and like sizes them out. So they're not too big. They're not too small. And then once you buy them, she keeps your size beside your name. And she's super professional, y'all, for fan art world. And Chelsea, you're super professional about it too. And it super impresses me because all the fan art that I've dealt with in the past has definitely not been professional like this. But both Val and Chelsea are very professional about things. So I highly agree with you, Chelsea. Val is amazing and the sweetest person ever. And if you look online, the sloth that you see in different pictures and stuff, that's hers. Oh, what's his name again?
Oh my gosh, I did not know that.
Yes, that's hers. And it's so, I love it. It goes all over the place.
I love
That's amazing. So she also has some other collections. So Seekers is just one of them. And she did a collection that I wanted to highlight called Bloomlight, which was actually a collab with the band Eggy.
Oh, cool.
So when I asked her about this, she said the Seekers bracelet series came first, but Bloomlight was definitely an expansion on that same idea. And then she was able to work with the Eggy guys directly on the whole thing and just transform it. So they actually gave her input and helped her design some of the bracelets, it sounds like. So that's amazing too. Check that one out.
I love it.
So I know it's amazing. I'm sure there will be more collabs to come with everything that she's working on. So you can find her, and her website is orionjewelrydesign.com. So Orion is spelled Orion, jewelrydesign.com. And then she is Orion Jewelry Design on Facebook and Instagram. So go give her a follow, buy some bracelets, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. We'll make sure all those links are in the show notes for you to just click very easily and go buy. I'm going to be doing that right after we get off the phone. All right. Our last segment, which is Podcast Blowdown. And this week we're highlighting a podcast called To All the People podcast with Janelle Roberts. And Janelle is an author, entrepreneur, and first generation college graduate. And she offers a timeless young voice of what it looks like to turn your pain into art. True to her livelihood, Jay Roberts brings an inspiring and accessible podcast that embodies the struggle of being a first-generation homeless college graduate, surviving abuse, and navigating toxic family dynamics. With relatable and tangible advice, the To All the People podcast is a journey of overcoming depression, learning forgiveness, and becoming your own sense of self-love. It is raw and not so pretty, awakening, and needed to help young readers discover and unlock their own unique voices. So this is actually a really good one for young listeners as well. So those of you that have teenagers or people that are in college, it's great for all of us, but I just wanted to make that note that this is a good one for young folks as well. And Janelle is brilliant. It's really great. And she has new episodes that are running right now. So we'll make sure that link is in the notes as well. So thanks for taking us through all that. What a great discussion around Empress, around posters and spotlighting Orion Jewelry Design, and then To the People podcast. But it's time for the main event. We'll be right back with one Naveed Quarterman. Welcome back, everyone. As I mentioned at the top of the show, this is a very special episode of Goose Chicks podcast. I think we're having our first male guest on the show, from my knowledge. I'm pretty sure this is our first non-woman guest on the show today, and it's a very special one. We are welcoming Naveed Quarterman, who is the merchandise manager for our favorite band, A Goose, of course. And I'll do a short bio that Naveed sent to us, which really literally touched my heart yesterday. I shared it in the group chat. So Naveed is a merchandise manager on a quest to go everywhere and feel everything. And we love that. So welcome to Goose Chicks podcast, Naveed. We're so excited that you're here.
Thank you so very much. Yeah, the little bio was 50 characters or less. I was like, all right, I'm gonna make this short and sweet. This is easy. That's the perfect sentence that embodies my journey. Just with this crazy organization, and I love every part of it. But and I also want to say I am a honorary Goose Chick. I have been dubbed, and hopefully after this conversation, I can keep up with that title, but sometimes because merchandise, I don't have to always be at the table. So some festivals and like Peach Festival, Austin City Limits, my domain is much more hands off. I kind of give the merchandise at the festivals and they kind of do their thing. So I'm always usually hanging around with the girlfriends, the Goose Chicks that are a part of our crew and family that travel around. I mean, obviously you are a part of every one of you here are part of our crew and family, of course, but the girlfriends, really. So I've been thankful to be dubbed an honorary Goose Chick, even before this podcast, which is just a wonderful thing in general. And I love that, it's becoming a thing, and what you all are doing are only helping that as a macro thing, just propel and bringing amazing women into this awesome scene. And, it's a wonderful thing. I'm just thrilled to be here, and it's an amazing thing you all are doing. So
Oh, thanks
Thank
for all
you.
that. And
Thank
yes, you're
you.
definitely an honorary goose chick for sure.
Definitely.
For sure. So all four of us are here because everybody was excited to talk with you, Naveed. I'll let you know we've done other interviews where it's just
Thank
one or
you.
two of us, but today it's the full, the full crew. So we're excited to chat with you. Well, to start off with, could you tell us a little bit about your background, your personal background, and how you ended up working for Goose? Like what was the path that led you there?
It's kind of a story that still baffles me at times as well. My previous wheelhouse was like brewery management. So I worked for two different breweries as soon as I got out of college, both in Virginia. I went to school in James Madison University and in Harrisonburg, Virginia. And studied hospitality, but had a very big interest in the music industry world. So I graduated with a hospitality degree, but came out with like a music industry minor, a music minor, and a business minor. After it took me 5 years to get all that stuff, but I was like,
that's fancy.
In the music,
that's a lot of fancy stuff.
Something like that, we'll call it fancy. It was a expensive piece of paper that helped me get to where I wanted to go. But I'm thankful that I kind of got the schooling in that chunk. Didn't have to do any master's program or any other things. And school was fun, but I really gained more out of it from the relationships that I cultivated from, that time period in my life. So basically, COVID was a thing. And let me backtrack a little bit. The first time I ever saw Goose was in 2019 at Peach Fest. I was there. That was the first time. I had no idea about Goose, and Brian Murphy, our correspondent in the Day of Show realm, that does, photos and a bunch of other things for the band. He was a good buddy of mine that I met in college. So we go 2019, Peach Fest and see Goose, and I was blown away. I was like, okay, like these guys, like they got it going on. I was somewhat of a jam band fan before that. Like Lotus was really my band that I went and saw the most. I wasn't someone that was, going on all these runs and stuff like that because I had a main kind of manager brewery gig. So I was really kind of bound to my post, if you will. But saw Papadosia, saw Twiddle, saw, in college and did that whole thing. But, I don't have an older brother, and my father wasn't really into the Dead or like Fish or anything like that. So it's kind of funny that I'm almost backtracking on, these big heavy hitters, and like, because of 2022 Goose and the fun things that we all did, it's like kind of wild to meet these people and, kind of learn, on the fly really about all the things that these great, bands have done. So it's a little funny, but so Goose, I kind of just really fell in love and was like, obviously I had a little bit more in with the band because I knew someone that was working with them already, and he was like their main photographer at the time. So in 2019, fast forward a little bit and COVID happened, and that kind of rocked the service industry world tenfold. Obviously everyone knows, but obviously, if you're in that realm, it definitely affected people quite a bit. So I was feeling that, I definitely wanted to kind of break out of what I was doing. I was a 25-year-old, assistant manager at this brewery that was a really, a solid brewery. I had, a nice salary, like a 401k. Like I was pretty much set in this kind of path of, assistant management for breweries. But something random fell in my lap, and I was like the merchandise guy for the brewery. That was just because the GM basically one day was like, hey, like, you run the floor, but like these assistant managers do these other things, and we have no one doing the merchandise. We're just going to give that to you. So I didn't really think anything of it. It was kind of the side stuff that I was doing when I wasn't running the floor of the brewery and restaurant. But, it ended up being one of the best things because I had the qualifications and I had the skills to where, so Goose was still opening up for Pigeons Playing Ping Pong in New Haven. And I basically went to the show. I think it was in like around October or so. And this was still before COVID. Apologize, I'm going back and forth here trying to make sure that the lineage is
We love twisty, turny stories.
I'm totally in with
this.
Okay, good. Thank you.
awesome.
So yes, 2019 Peach Fest, and then fast forward, and they were opening up for Pigeons on their run. And I basically, I was working 70 hours a week at the brewery. I was, kind of getting to a point where it was like, it was a bit taxing for sure. And I just needed something to do. And, I got my 2 days off or whatever in the week, and then sent it up to Connecticut. And I was just like, all right, I bought a ticket. Brian Murphy, I know him, and I just need to see a show. I want to see this band. I ended up bringing Brian Murphy to Trevor's house because we all just ride situation, yada yada. They still had their older van. We obviously didn't have a bus or anything like that at that time. So there was one extra spot in the van. And Jeff wasn't a part of the crew at that time. So basically I get in the van with everyone and start riding the show because there was an extra spot, and instead of me driving, and I was like, oh wait, this is so cool. Like I'm in the van with the band sitting right next to Ben. And really 10 minutes before we got to the show, Coach was sitting up in the front, Trevor was driving, and he kind of looks back to everyone and is like, hey, our merch volunteer, because they just had random volunteers that were coming and just doing the merchandise at that time. He's like, oh, they just dropped out. Before anyone in the band could say anything, or, Brian, whatever, I kind of raised my hand. I was like, oh, well, I have merchandise experience. I work at the brewery. I have these qualifications, whatever. If you guys need someone to do this, I would love to do it. In the back of my head, thinking man, I really didn't want to work. I was really ready to kind of enjoy this. But honestly, it was the best thing ever. The band was still, opening up for Pigeons, very much in a certain part of its infancy. So I didn't get necessarily paid for the position there. I got one of the hats, which was super cool. I was so happy with the hat. But I paid money for the show, and I didn't actually even see any of the show because I was working so hard and just trying to figure out the merchandise kind of thing on the fly. As Coach was kind of, he had a bunch of other things under his wheelhouse at that point. So he kind of gave me 15 minutes, breakdown, tutorial of what to do. And, being in the merchandise realm and as someone that has bartended, I was like, oh, I got it. No problem. We're good. Ended up breaking their sales records for that time. And then
Naveed.
I know. So that was an excellent thing, because after the show, they kind of came back. They're like, who are you again? What exactly do you, I kind of had conversations with them, but they were, they were busy doing their thing. And I told them some numbers, and they were like, okay, yeah. All right. Well, we're going to keep you in our back pocket. And maybe we'll call you if something else comes up. I was like, great, please let me know. And in my personal realm, it was so refreshing just to have that first experience at a merchandise table where, in the brewery realm that I was working 70 hours a week, I was the manager that would go to the tables when someone wanted to speak to a manager. I was the best at diffusing those situations just because I'm able to see people, who they are, and I can, just the way that I would approach it, I could see the red kind of, come down from people's faces from whatever experiences that they were having that were bad. And, I like to think one of my superpowers is talking to anyone, and definitely shined in that part, but it was just a completely 180 of the hospitality spectrum, if you will, of what I was doing day to day, kind of, again, more in a negative sense. It really was it was a fine place where people went and, got to drink and, do their whole thing.
Yeah, but you're the firefighter in that scenario, right? You're always putting out the fires. So you don't,
exactly.
Yeah.
And keeping up, that's actually what in an hour, I would put out 16 different fires from anywhere to, again, speaking, the person wants to speak to a manager. I'd be walking to the table with the server and literally 15 feet away. And they're like, oh yeah, they've been waiting 45 minutes. They got the wrong beer and they got a hair in their food. And I'm like, hi, how's it going? And then trying to diffuse the situation from that angle. It was definitely challenging to a certain degree, but just, again, after doing that one night, I just it completely changed my thought process of hospitality and what I wanted to aim for. I was pretty much set in I didn't really even know that existed, to be honest. I did, I bought t-shirts and all that stuff, but I had no idea that that's something that I could do. And once I realized how it, affected me fully, I kind of was like, well, I need to do everything I can to do this, because this is what I want to do. These are the people I want to be around. And again, I learned a lot from that position that I had, but it just shifted in my brain. And I was like, okay, we're going to be patient, but I'm definitely going to be a squeaky wheel and see, if this is something that I could do. So then I told them after that show, I was like, hey, if you guys, just let me know in the future. I'm happy. I live in Virginia, 6 hours away, but I will drive up to Connecticut or wherever and help you guys out if you need. So fast forward a little bit, South Farms, they were supposed to have the Halloween show, and it got canceled because of snow. I don't know if Alexis, if you were, in that time frame or know about it, but
it was right after.
It was right after, yeah.
Yeah.
So because that show got canceled, they had a merchandise person there already, but it got rescheduled the next week in November. They called me on a whim because their merchandise person couldn't do it. And I, again, reshuffled my whole week around of 70 hours and drove up. I worked 2 nights of South Farms and like drove straight back down into another 70-hour work week. But I wasn't going to say no. I was like, you know what, this is what I want to do. I will figure it out. If I am dead, for the 70-hour week after, I'm going to do it. So I did that. Also, we did really well, merch sales and stuff like that. And I actually got to talk to Dave DiCiani, one of the, Ben Baruch and Dave DiCiani are the people that run 11 Group. I'm sure, forgive me if that's obviously news that is pretty widely known. But, we got to chat a little bit. And I really, again, was like, hey, I will quit my 401k, brewery job to go on tour if you guys need, someone. And that was still in COVID. Those were the pod shows. And he was just like, yeah, we're looking at a couple people, but if touring starts back up again, in the spring, you're definitely on our list to kind of review. And basically I took that as like, all right, well, I'm like, my foot is semi in the door. I know I can crush an interview if I get back to it. I'm just going to kind of email monthly and hopefully, something good will happen of it. And it did. I got a cold call in March, and I'm not cold call, but I was waiting for the call from Dave, but there was literally multiple months that went by, and he called me out of the blue with, not much communication before that. And he's like, hey, so we have a bus tour. Frederick, Maryland was those first shows. I was like it was the first week of May. Basically he was like, yeah, we just got a tour bus, just the first tour bus run. We have 11 of the cots taken. We have 1 extra because there's 12 in the bus, and we think we need a merchandise manager. Can you join us? And I was like, I literally like put the phone down for a second. I was like, yeah. It was like, yeah, for sure. Yeah, duh. So yeah, I got the cold call on the bus, and I haven't looked back in the brewery realm and anything since. So yeah, that was definitely an elongated version of how I got here. But
I love
definitely to take note of, because I wanted it, and I did it initially. I saw the opportunity, and I did everything I could to kind of manifest that for myself, and I'm very thankful that that's how it happened. Yeah.
I'm so moved by that. Go ahead, Alexios.
I was going to say question. So what did your parents think about this? Like, as because that's always the thing. What did you hear from your parents about this?
That is an excellent question. So my father, he's an artist at heart. He was a chairman of the photography department for this college in Richmond, Virginia called VCU. So he worked in the arts, like he still does art. He's just truly, has the artist mentality. And I kind of really, kind of gave him my full testimonial. Like, look, I know this is crazy. Like, we're still kind of in COVID, and I'm quitting this like actual salary job to go like on this tour, which I don't even know how much money I'm going to be making here. Like I had no idea in the beginning when they called, and it didn't really matter to me. I was just the way that made me feel, and being in those really just concerts in general. Like, again, concerts and festivals were very much in my wheelhouse, and everything that, kind of propelled what I was doing before COVID and before I started working for the band. Obviously it landed me in a brewery spot, but I was trying to book music and, like I said, merchandise stuff, but like the music was always there for me. So, and they knew I wanted to do something in that faucet, but they I told them, I was like, look, it doesn't, if I go broke, it doesn't matter, because this is the most, the coolest experience I could ever have. And I knew it back then too. And now it's a whole different, kind of thing. But even back then I was like, I would be an absolute fool to pass up this opportunity if they're offering me, a spot on a tour bus. And, they kind of accepted. I'm very thankful that they, trusted in me, and I was like a 25-year-old, like if it all went to crap, like I could go and do what I was doing beforehand and get a job somewhere else at a brewery, like that didn't go away. So it was, really just kind of like pouring my heart out in the sense and being like, look, this is what's going to make me the happiest right now as I see it fit. And I want to, it would be crazy for me not to at least jump off this ledge and see where it takes me. And I'm so glad I did. I never looked back. And they've come to multiple Goose shows now, and like they come to Floyd Fest and in Richmond. My parents, I guess, Peter posted like an Instagram a story, but they came over. My mother cooked them all dinner, or the whole crew, all of us all dinner, and It was a great time. They get it now. They definitely get it.
That's awesome. I need to meet your parents at Floyd Fest, because Floyd Fest is like 30, 40 minutes, or maybe like 45 now that they've changed the venue and stuff for my house. So definitely I need to meet them. And I like hearing this whole story. I'm just like, wow, like I didn't know that we were like homies from the beginning. Like I didn't know, it's funny to see when people were coming into it and stuff. And so that's super cool.
I know it's a wild ride, very much so. And like, I wouldn't change a thing. It's like cool looking back and realizing that I really, kind of had the door open a little bit, and then I kind of shoved my whole arm through the door.
I'm in.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, look, like if they kick me out, that's fine. But, I want to be here. So I'm going to do everything I can and be on my best behavior and do the things to the best of my ability. And hopefully it sticks. And to be honest, like, just in a work, for the brewery, I was hiring and firing people. Like I was pretty like, I was up there in the chain of command, if you will. And it's really special to, be with a crew of people and individuals that I can truly be myself, like I've never had a work environment where it's like everyone is truly authentically themselves. And we're just, I am thankful. And I know a lot of other people are, to be working with people that are, first of all, just so good at their specific domains. Like I work harder knowing that, Getty's doing his thing and, Danny's on stage getting the shots for the live stream, and everyone in between, we don't have time I could go on. It would take the whole podcast for me to list, my
Don't worry. We'll be coming for all of you soon. Everybody you just mentioned, we'll be calling you soon. Don't worry.
Exactly. Yes. But it really is a special thing. Our crew, I don't think any of us take it for granted. I surely don't, just of, the quality of people and, the personalities and we all mesh really well together. And, it's wild being on a tour bus, eating, sleeping with these people. And so it's very much kind of the personalities, and everyone has things in their day to day that, for lack of a better word, stresses them out. And, it's how people kind of take that stress and still able to perform their jobs and still, be positive with one another and not kind of overspill that, negativity or whatever in the, certain 15 minutes or half an hour of the day of show. It's quite a, like I said, I've worked with a lot of different groups and people, and it's unlike anything I've ever been a part of. And it's really special.
Well, definitely shines through to us in the audience, I have to say. Like, I can say, especially, as much time as I spend as I can on the rail, like just watching the crew and watching everybody work, like everybody always has a smile on their face. They're so kind to each other. And, you don't always see that. I've been to concerts where you can see people like yelling off stage at people that are working and it being a really negative environment. Besides the performers, right? And one of the things that is so great about Goose is we see that they treat the crew like part of the band. It's a full team, and that really comes through to the audience, because it makes us feel like, all right, like we're all in this together, and we're all kind of excited together to see what's going to happen and what's going to come next. So,
well, I appreciate that greatly. It's wonderful. It's yeah, and it goes both ways too. I think maybe this is. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. I just my connection was unstable for a sec, so hopefully I'm not cutting out here. But and going into a different faucet, this community around this band is so incredibly special. I like to say my job specifically is one of the best out of the crew, because I get to interact with everyone the most. When we get to venues like, 9 a.m., whatever, everyone else basically peels off to go and work on the stage. Sam King, obviously, and Marta as well. They have other jobs, that don't require them to, be dedicated to the cultivation of the stage. But, me, I kind of wake up and peel off and kind of bring all my boxes in, count, have my day, whatever. But, if I'm actually at the table, it's just the energy I get from being able to, see all your faces and so many other amazing faces is the most, but I never imagined that would be part of this job. While I'm like, I got it that first time when I, did the thing at when they were opening up for Pigeons, but just the reoccurring, like I love coming to places and knowing that you all are going to be there. Like it's such a different, special added layer to so many different layers of this whole kind of thing. It's amazing just to be able to keep up with everyone and be like, hey, where will I see you next? Like, enjoy it in there. And, so for merchandise, I'm either selling at the table or I'm not selling at the table. Usually these bigger venues, they have, we call it a venue sells. And forgive me if I'm jumping around if there's specific questions.
No, well, we did have a question about procuring merchandise. So this actually dovetails perfectly. So
Excellent.
just kind of wanted to hear from you a little bit about kind of what is this back end kind of inner workings of things that end up from, inception to you or somebody else handing us a piece of merchandise. And for the listeners, I'm going to take a shot before we finish, but we all wore official Goose merch today for Naveed because we wanted to represent, because we love you and we love all the work you do. So so you jump off from there. Like, what is this kind of, ecosystem that you're dealing with? Yeah.
And it is a massive ecosystem. And as it stands right now, so the Merchandise Collective, they are technically like the third party company that owns all of Goose merchandise. Okay. They have like many like teams of people and stuff that, work on cultivating, the type of stuff that we have for our lines. And they have a bunch of bands. Like if you look at their website, like they have, String Cheese Incident, like Primus, like Ween, like a bunch of like massive acts within our industry, within our genre, but also beyond that. But it's like what Goose is and how me personally and Peter have kind of tried to work at is kind of getting more stuff that's more specific to our music, so like, it's a big thing with a lot of people that are working on it, but because of the creativity and the kind of drive that we have to kind of create the best products that we have, we're reviewing a bit more, especially, Peter, on, the types of things that we're putting out. Like for the last summer tour, we had like an Arrow t-shirt, we had a Hunger Sight tank, things that are revolving around the specific songs that, us feeding more information to the Merch Collective, they are, pumping out some more things along that vein that are, true to our band and like our fans, really. So, there's no short answer really, to how the merchandise gets from point A to point B, because there are a lot of hands and a lot of minds that are kind of working on, getting the product line all the way through, into my hands at the shows, to kind of facilitate that process. But so as of right now, I actually don't have much in terms of getting the actual products there. At the last couple lines, at the kind of the end of the product, once they're kind of finished up, I'll kind of get sent it and be like, hey, what do you think of this? And I'll kind of change some things around, like, oh no, we need like, whatever. And people are listening to my, my on the ground, and I get that feedback from you all. I'm literally, the things that you all tell me, at this point, I don't have the full entire reign to go and do those immediately. I have to kind of, give it to a committee and they kind of do the things. And, because the things that you all are telling me and I'm telling them are working, it's starting to become more of a streamlined process. And, we're all learning, and this, the growth of this band is just like beyond anyone's like imagination. So, there were definitely some learning curves there, and, and we don't have to go too into that, but,
no, we do want to go into that because we do want to talk about what 2022 was like for you in your particular position. Just, we did a whole, show about this meteoric year, how, mind-blowing it was, and how things just seem to keep getting bigger, more. And I can only imagine for you, because you're kind of having to rely on data, but the data is shifting very quickly on you, right? So we're talking about 400 to 1,500 venues, and now we're then 3,000 to 5,000, and then we had some 6,000 to 10,000 venues. This is a whole that those three slices are completely different. I can imagine on your end of things. So what was that like? And did you approach it from a like venue to venue perspective, or did you have to kind of go for like, this is what summer tour is going to look like, this is what fall tour is going to be like? Yeah, just what is that process like?
No, that's a great question. So like, on the Merch Collective, like teams and committees, there's, like a big part of it. I mean, there's two main things, like getting the art and getting the designs on that art. And what, like, okay, we have a design. Is it going to be on a mug? Is it going to be on a hat or a t-shirt? All that stuff. That's one thing. The second thing is forecasting. And like, I've been, looking a little bit more on that front. And again, there are people that do this in this merchandise world that, literally just look at the data, but you have to do it by tour. Essentially, we're like, okay, we have a sold out tour. How many heads in, total is it going to be? And obviously every single tour changed and we had to go back to the drawing boards and do whatever. But it's like just forecasting and it's never perfect either with any type of forecasting. Okay, cool. We're going to make 600 large, of this item, and then it scales down, the medium and XL, all that stuff. But, then we sell out after 4 shows and we're like, oh crap. Okay. We'll like reprint quick and then bring it over. I don't think there's been and I don't know, maybe in any tour, if you're great at forecasting in the merchandise realm, like, you should be paid a lot of money because it's quite a crapshoot at certain times, what items sell and what items don't. It's like, I think this one's going to sell and I think this one's going to sell out, whatever, but sometimes it doesn't happen. And depending on where we are, depending on the weather, literally all these different factors will completely change what is being, sought after at the table in different cities, of course. So yeah, forecasting is just a massive beast that I have been with the last couple of tours, at least just trying to, gauge it a little bit more and understand how that works. And, I hope and, in the future here, more of those responsibilities will get under my plate because I am the merchandise manager, but more so on the road, and that's kind of the key thing where some bands, they're merchandise person. So, Fish, their camp, obviously we got to work with them a bit, but how they do it is much different. They don't have necessarily a third party company. They have a couple people within their realm that, cultivate work with the artist, cultivate the product line. And then those people also forecast out and work with the shipping. And then they get it to the ground and then sell it from there. So yeah, those kind of 3 bigger things on the back end are responsibilities that I am slowly starting to kind of encapsulate and hopefully, it'll make my job easier when I'm on the ground if I can do all those things because, I know it will make it easier. I'm a perfectionist to a certain degree and I will put the time in to make sure the forecasting as well. But, sometimes it doesn't work and sometimes it does. And sometimes I'm going to order a bunch of one thing and it's, and then we're going to sell out of it in 2 shows and that's fine. And then, you take notes of that. It's not a perfect thing whatsoever. And that's, understanding that makes it almost a little bit easier where it's like, okay, we can kind of work on the data, but at the end of the day, the data sometimes doesn't check out and that's okay. We're going to do everything we can to reprint the shirts as fast as possible. Or, a perfect example is Goosemas. We had an awesome product line for Goosemas that went really, really well. Sold out literally in the first, for like the sweatshirt and the t-shirt, the more specific Goosemas items sold out relatively quickly. We, had a lot of feedback that people wanted these items that we didn't have like the second day. But literally the items didn't exist at the time. It was like, oh yes, I hear you, but like we have to reprint them. So we did that and we had a little drop, pre-order, print online and hopefully everyone that didn't get something actually at the show.
I got my hoodie.
Good. You did. Excellent. Good. And that's something. Yeah, that's something that we're, it's a fail safe in a sense. There's things that we can do at this point, with being in this level where we can do stuff like that, so like we're always going to do our best to listen to the customers and get what you guys want. But sometimes it's just a lot harder because the forecasting wasn't there,
If you ever need any help, Naveed, that's what I've done for years.
Really?
Like seriously, yeah. I've worked for Carhartt forecasting and stuff, international logistics, like done all that. So as you're talking about forecasting, I'm like, this is my language right here. This is what I've done. Like I've done it for New Balance, Carhartt, like all types of, So, and I did like my internship with Hanes brands and stuff. So I've done like all the international logistics. So
Those are
I
some
love that
serious
stuff.
brands, girl. Yeah, no. So like I said, it's not even, I'm like being CC'd on these emails now and, kind of like getting there because again, this third party company, they have they have a contract with Goose and they're writing out their contract to do these responsibilities with them. Again, it's only going to help me to be able to do those things and be involved a little bit more with those things later on down the road. And, as this band grows, different things will happen. And, hopefully those responsibilities will come a little bit more on my plate. And I would love to have some conversations with you to help me out too, because forecasting, it's, like,
it's a big,
thing. Yeah. I mean, and it can, and then you forecast wrong. And it's like, then it's like, okay, we have all this product that no one wants. Like, then what do we do with, it's like, it doesn't always work out perfectly at the end, but that's great. I appreciate that greatly. So, it's definitely, there's a lot of moving parts at the end of the day. To sum up the merchandise realm of Goose, there are a lot of moving parts. I am doing my realm of the road merchandise manager, to the best degree. And I hope to gain more responsibilities to help, my on the ground work and beyond. And, I'm in a perfect position right now. And I know when those things are supposed to happen, it will. And, at the end of the day, I want to, create what you all want to wear and what I want to wear. Honestly, I'm wearing, this Goose hat right now because I freaking love it. And it's like a really cool hat, So, when I started with the band with merchandise, I told them, I was like, look, you guys, you basically, got a merchandise person, but also a walking billboard because I don't, sign on to something unless I, am all in and I'm all in. So, I want people to ask me about my Goose shirt and be like, yeah, your Goose shirt too. Like, awesome.
I was talking the other day, my husband and I, we only travel in Goose gear now because we found it's the best way to meet other Goose fans. Because when you have it on and they see you, they're like, oh my God, Goose, whatever. So that's our new rule. If we're flying, we're wearing Goose gear because it just makes it easier.
Actually how we met for the first time. We were coming back from Colorado and I saw the poster tube and the Goose and, all of us are exhausted and walk up to them in the airport. And I'm like, were y'all just out in Colorado on the Colorado run? And I'm like, yeah. And, I'm like, awesome.
No, that's wonderful. Way. It is. It's like, I love seeing merch in the wild and it's basically a 40% chance or so that I've counted and touched those items,
or even physically handed it to them, Naveed, which is really, that's really special.
It is. I love that little, cool, caveat of this whole thing. And there's much more to come in this merchandise realm. And then so backtracking a bit in 2022, the growth that happened here was just quite insane. I mean, like I said, the numbers that we were doing in the winter tour versus the spring tour versus, the Trey tour. And that was a whole different beast in itself because, having items that had Trey Anastasio band, that I was selling on, Trey's name on there was just I'm folding this stuff. I'm like, holy shit, this is really what we're doing here right now, right? It's the one of the shirts. Right. Yeah. With Trey and Rick's guitar, intertwined. And that was a pseudo dudo design. And it's really, cool that we got to, work with them and do that whole thing. And then even in playing in the sand and see, the Dead Camp and stuff in such a small, short time. It's we're now just looking and having conversations with, the greats and these people that have, and specifically in their camps and Fishes and in, Dead and Company just, it was really respectable and honorable to learn from them. And all of us learn in our different domains, that's
what I was going to think. I was like, they're the musicians that get to connect. But now I'm like, wow, lighting and merch and, stage hands and what happens backstage, interacting with these huge apparatuses that have been going for decades. This is masterclass level experiences, right? That y'all are all each getting to have in all of your roles, which is, amazing and such a blessing.
No, truly. And I didn't really realize how much that, on the 8-show run with the Fish Camp, their merchandise manager is Jimmy Farrell. And he's been working with Fish. It's 09, I think, or 20, somewhere within the early 2010s. And, every single show, all the MSGs, all, and he works with helping cultivate, the artists and getting the actual designs on the stuff and the posters. So it was really cool to pick his brain on that. And just, the really big takeaway from that whole thing, honestly, was seeing how they reacted to our camp. Kind of what we were touching on earlier of just like the positivity and how everyone treats everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I haven't talked this much in such a long time. Just been
Water
drinking tequila. Been drinking tequila in Mexico. I haven't. It was just really cool to hear them kind of respect us and kind of really have them almost reignited their passion in a sense, because they could see how we all loved what we did and we weren't jaded with our stuff. Not that they were by any means, but a lot of touring people, and as you do it for a while, like I'm seeing myself firsthand with other things, and excuse me.
Yeah, it's a grind, right? It is a grind. I mean,
oh my
even
God.
if you enjoy your job, it's still a grind. Yeah.
I wonder how many hours that y'all have off sometimes, because I'm like, okay, they're setting this stuff up all day. They're, they've got to do sound check. They've got to do all this. And I mean, obviously, we know being a rail rider, I see you rolling out your stuff and, okay, and how it all goes. And, and I was just like, wow, they really don't have much off time. Like, it's just like, being able to take a walk around and do, so yeah, I wonder, I'm definitely sure that it burns you out sometimes.
It does. I mean, but in almost the best way, because at any point, if I ever feel, I'm like, this thing didn't, work out or whatever, I'm a little stressed or anything like that. It's like, I just try and take a step back, take a second and realize where I am, and seeing you all like waiting outside, to come to the show that we're like, I'm trying to frantically, set up, stick up t-shirts on the wall and stuff like that. It's like, okay, like, and I do that because I want my responsibilities to be, achieved at a certain level that I have standards for, and everyone else does as well. So that's where the stress comes. It's in, self-inflicting, if you will.
Right. Yeah.
Because I care.
We love you either way. We want to, and I know, but that's everyone. Like I'll message Leslie and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is driving me crazy. And she's like, girl, you're way too hard on yourself. So I totally understand where you're coming from. Like it's the internal anxiety and stuff, but we love you either way. We're just happy to see you. We'll stand there and help you put all this stuff up. We'll just be like, come on, Naveed, what are we doing? Let's put it up.
And I love that. And I appreciate every person that has ever come to me and be like, hey, like I see you going, but like, do you need help and stuff like that? That's just, it's small things like that. And that are really special. And just, again, nod to the people that, are really forming around this band and really kind of get it and like want to continue, to be around these type of people and these individuals. It's like, I like to say I would, march to the end of the earth for all the band members, Rick and Trevor and Pete. It's like they're like my friends, but like leaders, but people I look up to, but also guys I crack jokes with and stuff. It all comes from them, and like all of us kind of work that and like create this big pyramid. But it's special. It's hard to describe, and the people that get it, they get it and feel it, and they're in it for the long haul, and so am I. So we'll see, to another 50 years, hopefully. But
oh yeah,
cheers, yeah.
But it's a lot of responsibilities that we all have and stuff. And by the end of the day, it's like, okay, showtime is ready to go. Like, and again, when I'm at the table myself, it's a different step really that I'm like, okay, now I do 4 hours of where I'm talking. There's sometimes where we have 3-4 shows in a week where my voice is gone by the end of the night, like me, talking to, and it's great. I love it. But it's like, depending on where the merchandise booth is, like within the venue, like if I'm having to scream over like the actual music and, all that stuff, a lot of things, make it a different world for me in that time. But you mentioned like just Leslie, like our timetable. We get to a venue at 9 a.m. We're working basically like 14, 15 hours. I have like 30 minutes that I'll take for lunch, 30 minutes that I have for dinner. But we pack up if we're getting on a place at like 3 a.m., 3:30. Sleep 5-6 hours and then wake up at 9 a.m. and repeat. And it definitely gets pretty crazy sometimes, but. Goose tours are not really that long in terms of runs. It's never more than 3 or 4 weeks or whatever. So makes it a little bit easy. And they can play multiple plays. 2-night runs are the best thing for the crew because we don't have to pack it up after the first night.
Right,
we actually get
right.
to hang out and enjoy, and kind of go in certain ways. But I
Which is
realize I'm kind of rambling.
So many 2-night runs on the spring tour, so that's very exciting. Which is really
we're
nice.
just as appreciative for those
We are.
2-night
We're
runs.
I know.
We're just like, thank you.
Everyone
we can
involved.
sleep in, and we can stay in one spot and not have to get right on the road to go to the next show. So I did want to talk about, you just mentioned 2022, huge growth.
Sure.
You've also had all these interactions with, Trey's team, Tab and Fish. And so what were some of the bigger changes? Just noting on our end of things, we noted, the 430 sale for the first time at Goosemas. Kudos on that. Everybody was very excited. So is that something that's going to be continuing forward? Is that something you felt worked? In my head, that first night, Naveed, literally, I turned to Drew, I go, I really want to know, Naveed, how high the sales were in this 4:30 to 6:30 timeframe, because just the lines, and also people were very excited to not have to take their shit into the venue, and all of those things that are positives on the fan side of things was great. And so people were really enthusiastic. And I talked to quite a few people who were like, I didn't know if I was going to get merch, but now that I can throw it in my car,
Exactly.
now I'm open to everything. So so what was that like? And is that something you're going to continue doing moving forward if you can? Yeah, curious about all that.
No, that's an excellent question. I apologize for rambling a bit and kind of answering questions that's how my brain works. So
that's how the show works too. Yeah. So you're good, Naveed. You're good.
So yes, honestly, it was wonderful, and that really was straight from Tab Camp. Jimmy, that's and it's really just the venues. These the arena tour, what did we call it? Just minor league, hockey tour is what we call it. Literally all these minor league hockey spots, which is awesome. But all of those venues have the capacity to do stuff like that. I wasn't at the table for any of those. Neither one of us was, because they usually had 2 different merchandise spots within the arena, and then we'd always do the because that's what Fish does. The outside poster stand, which, as far as I'm concerned, for different spots that are able to do it, we 100% will. It's just really a matter of the spots. A lot of the stuff, a lot of the venues in the spring run, it's probably not going to happen because I'm going to be at the table, and it's literally, I can't. I wish I could, but get everything out there and then bring it back in and all that stuff, because I'm just setting up the inside myself most of the time. So it will be a thing. Definitely for these bigger shows, as we get into bigger arena style venues that are able to do this. What was different with Goosemas, they had this trailer that was there. First Bank rather, they had a trailer that was able to put more of the product items in. The outside merchandise spaces, they're usually just going to be posters, because that's the thing that bottlenecks
just
everything.
A table, and
of course,
yeah.
I mean, exactly. You can literally just 2 tables front and the back, and we just kind of rotate it out. And again, because that's the most valuable thing that I have at the booth always. Anytime I'm able to put, a hat or a different trinket items or whatever attached onto that, I 100% will. But usually it's just a lot for the staff, depending on how much they have. And if it's posters, great, dish them out really easily, depending on where it is. But yeah, for First Bank, they had this whole trailer, and they were like, yeah, we could do the whole entire product line straight out if you want. I was like, hell yeah, 100%. That makes things way easier for people, and getting it in their cars, and, not having to deal with it for the entire show and potentially losing it, and, everything across the board. That was, we will 100% do that. But if it's not, if that doesn't happen, it's going to be because the venue is not equipped to do that. Or I'm going to be selling at the table and I am not equipped, to do that until I get, someone else in the merchandise world, which I don't even know when. That's way down the line for our camp. But so yeah, I'm glad everyone enjoyed it and wanted to do that. That was directly, not copied, but after conversations with the Tab team, it was for bands that have massive poster, yeah, I mean, definitely it's a great option. So so for in Cincinnati, it was just posters, because that specific spot, and we didn't even know if we were going to do it, because Cincinnati in the winter, how cold it was going to be. Luckily, it was it was a pretty nice day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that will always be a thing if possible. I want that for you all, so you don't have to carry it around, and and hopefully people that want merchandise and come and get it real quick and put in their car, and then they're great. And if you want to buy more merchandise, you know where it is,
You know
but
where it's
at
at.
least you got the
Right.
first thing. Yeah.
And then that also upsells because people who can't get into the shows, like sold out shows, that you have your merch out front, your merch is even going to do better because people that want that are able to get it and then go home. And, for us also, it helps, that line at the beginning, where people get so hostile and, we don't even know who's going for posters, who's
Right.
going for, for the rail. And, so a lot of times it's people that are going for posters and not, so that helps out both ways.
So it does, but there is a caveat with that, a small caveat where, we don't want to get to a point where people that are not attending the shows come and buy up all the posters because, the merchandise is a whole thing because usually I have a lot of them. But again, when there's a certain amount of posters there, and so I try and combat that with like the limits and stuff. And it sucks sometimes for sure. But if we have a paper, if we have a foil and we have a sign, like you can get 3. And like, that's what, per person, if there's 2 people there, okay, great. But that is something where I'll never be able to police that, or the people that are selling it will never, if someone just goes in a line and buys a poster, gives it to their friend and goes back in line and buys another poster, like there's no way to like, be like, well, you just bought a, poster and like, we can't sell, it's like, it's a difficult thing that, I just wish everyone would just try and be as fair as possible. Obviously I know that's with some people, that's just not a thing. So the limit is what and other people have talked about just to try and combat that, someone coming in and buying 10 posters and then, walking away and trying to flip all 10 or something, it's like.
Yeah, I know, like depending on the venue, Fish often, like you have to show your ticket to even get in the poster line often. MSG run, actually their spring and summer tour. I think we did 10 Fish shows this year and all of them were like that. So yeah, they just have you have to have your ticket to get into the poster line, even the early poster line, just so that the folks that bought tickets are given priority, right? To get from the show. Because I know for me, all the posters are great, but I buy the ones that I went to. So it's a rare, I think the only Goose poster I have that I didn't go to was that Nashville, the like long Empress print. It just was too beautiful not to purchase because it's just a work of art. And I had a perfect spot for it. And I was like, yeah, get that one if you can. So I just put Drew on it and he got it done. So that's great. What has there anything that surprised you about fan interest in merchandise? Like, was there a poster or a piece of, clothing or a hat that you were like, why does everybody love this thing? So, was there anything that has surprised you?
That's a good question. I mean, some of the posters definitely surprised me. I mean, at this point, whatever poster it is, is still, thankfully flying off the shelves, which makes my life easier, in a certain sense. But all the posters are awesome. They're just, it's cool to have so many different styles, all the way through. And even, for one show, Red Rocks is a good example of the VIP poster versus the clock, versus the Millward poster. And the Millward was much more dense and you had these crazy, and the foil was holy crap, what am I even looking at? And then you had this really clean, the cake, the actual poster that
people are freaked. That poster, you can't get that poster anywhere, Naveed.
I would say that's that would be my biggest just first off my head, where I was like, oh wow, people really, that was just kind of a secondary, we were literally giving it away to the VIP people. The blue variant of it, you got it with the VIP ticket. So that was pretty crazy to be like, oh wow, that one was more desirable than the actual, Millward show poster that we had. Something that I always, I don't know, lighters are a big thing. And that's something that trying to, hopefully we'll see in the future, but lighters are definitely something that people always ask, and it's just stuff with a script logo, honestly, we almost pulled away from the script logo for a couple product lines because, early on that was the thing, everything had the script logo on it. And then there was a time where I would just constantly hear people do you have just any, we have these black crew shirts that just has the script logo there and has crew on the back. And we got those at the beginning of the spring tour in Richmond. And the amount of times that people were can I buy that shirt off your back?
That happened at New Year's to the crew, though. Security, everybody was trying to buy all their shirts and everything.
Yeah, so that was actually cool because their whole security made their own specific. That was actually really special that they kind of decided to do that themselves. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. You guys rock. But yeah, that, just anything with the script logo, and it's awesome that's more desirable now. For a little while, we're trying to pull away from that, and
well, I'll tell you why, Naveed. I don't know if you're aware, but the community is we have some guidelines on the merch that fan art makes. And the biggest thing is we don't use that. Exactly. And so that's why it's so desirable to us, because we know anything we buy that's not directly from the band will never have that. Or I know, I'll speak for myself. I won't be buying anything that has the official logo on it. And I think we all feel the same way. And so that particular rule, it's literally posted in all the forums and all the Reddits and all the groups and everything. And so that's, I can just say for me, I know I'm always like, well, the only place to get the script logo is directly from the band. So yeah, we're always looking for those. I mean, you always have the orange hat, which is like iconic at this point, truly iconic at this point. But yeah, that's definitely high value for all of us.
And no, you're exactly. I forget that and that's the only thing that's really trademarked technically as of now from the band, from my knowledge still. But I can say, without saying too much, we will have a couple items on the spring line that do have the script logo. So be on the lookout. It'll be. I'm actually very, very. This is definitely the most exciting line coming up in the spring that I've
we're all excited.
Like the perfect segue to my next question, Naveed. So this is great. So anything you're allowed to or able to share. I'll start with just the cap run, because that's coming up first. And my husband wanted me to specifically ask how many posters there will be for the cap run. He's very concerned about it. So if you don't know now, that's fine. But I promised that I would ask. So yeah, and then we can slide in if there's any little tidbits about spring tour. But we figured cap run's right around the corner ish, and maybe you have a little more info about that you're able to share with the audience. So
I'm really not permitted to share too much, unfortunately, because we like to keep it a surprise, and it makes it more fun when everyone's waiting and you're like, oh, you're going to post something. That? Yeah, exactly. And then, like the day of or the day before, the show, it's like, oh my God. All right. This is everything.
Oh no, we just stalk the Instagram. You don't understand. That's the constant. Did they post it yet? Have they posted yet? Did we see Naveed holding the poster yet? Where is the picture?
Yeah. My fingers always, it's like really funny, like scrolling back to Instagram. I was like, God, like I need to like make sure my nails are clipped and stuff before I like do this thing. Me and Adam Berta, will like go and peel off and find some crazy spot in the venue. And I'm just like, is it straight? He's like a little to the left. I'm like, it takes like 20 minutes. It's really a hilarious process. But yeah, that's, so
Are y'all sure that's what takes the 20 minutes? Or is it like 5 minutes and then like a 15-minute break with it?
I'm like, how's my face, Berta? He's like, what do you mean? You're like, your poster's in front of it. I'm like, okay. That's what takes 10 of the 20 minutes. Yeah, exactly. I love Adam. He's such a great special guy. So I can't say too much about the posters, unfortunately. Because Peter, I'm sure Peter wouldn't like it so much, and it would ruin the surprise. But we are going to have some special items for the cap. The posters are going to be cool, but the spring items are going to be really, really awesome. I'm very excited for like the specific items that we have in terms of like some newer trinket things that we haven't had before, as well as. Some designs that we have had before, but they're on new items with a little bit more flair. That we have like this design that's going to be on the koozie in one of these shirts. It's so fun. I apologize for like talking around it, but I can't.
No, I love it. This is the
secret. Don't buy any koozies until you get on spring tour.
For the koozies, everybody. It's going to
be the coolest koozie around. So I think I'm gonna leave it at that before I get too.
Yeah, we don't want to get you in any trouble or anything. For sure.
I'm like, I better start saving money now. You're like really hyping me up for all these.
It'll be Jason, Sky, me, Ara. So I have to buy for 4. Like I'm always coming back up and I'll be at the table talking to Naveed and I'm like, I'm not going to buy this. And then probably like 15 minutes later, I'm like, hey, Naveed, I think I'm going to come back and buy that. I'll probably see like 3 or 4
that
times.
Happened at the Joy Theater, Alexius. I had bought the hoodie and I was like, this is the softest hoodie, Alexius. And you were like, let me see it. And you were like, I'm going to get one. And then you went and got one. It's so funny.
And then that's when I got the windbreaker for Jason too. When I was out there I was like, oh, I need that too. Like, yeah, I break myself at the merch table always.
Hey, well, I appreciate it always. And I never mean to be a culprit to breaking the bank, but I know you all look amazing in those items. Rock it.
We love them.
Meet new people with them. And it's wonderful to see. It makes me so happy.
And I love my conversations with you too. It's always fun to get a convo with you and while we're up there.
And I always love it too. I kind of joke, I'm like always in like rapid mode, like, the best thing I like to say is, semi-flustered, but executing. That's like my if I'm at the table, only semi-flustered because there's so many things and so many numbers and so many items and like, just trying to.
That really brings back your hospitality background. I used to be a big box restaurant manager, and so much of that job is about like holding so many things at the same time and then consistently shifting priorities as to what you need to do next. Oh, now this jumped to the top. So I can just hearing, your evolution, your story. I'm like, actually all those skills from hospitality translate so well into your position now, that you're able to balance things. And also there's a level of it which I loved about hospitality. Like when it's over, like it's done, you've left that thing, right? There's not a lot to dwell on. You can, SWOT analysis and talk about it, but like the door is closed on that thing and we're moving to the next thing. And there's some satisfaction in that as well, where you can build on your successes and learn from your mistakes, but they're not like in your face constantly because the show is over and it went great and the fans had a great time in the end, right? So that's really amazing. So last question before we close out with you. I would be remiss if we didn't note that you took on some extra duties over the Cincy run. I'll just say this. Alexi's up on the rail and I look over and I go, is Naveed holding a steady cam? What's happening over there? And you were like, I'm doing it for the first time tonight. It's going to go great. And so what I said to Drew asked me, he's like, what do you think that is? I'm like, well, first it's New Year's. Like every staff anywhere is working a show. Like everybody, I mean, especially in jam band. I don't know a jam band that didn't do a pretty significant show for New Year's, wherever they were, like all over the place, right? So you can't just poll people for New Year's because they're working. So when were you asked? That's the first question I have. Is like in the timeline, like when did you know you had to do this? What kind of crash course did you get? And then what was it like kind of shifting away? I will note I saw you bringing the VIP posters to the VIP table and I saw your face and it said to me, I really am uncomfortable letting this go. Like I could see you really being like, is merch going to be okay? I know I agreed to do this other thing, but that's my baby and I really want it taken care of well. So I want to just acknowledge that feeling. And then just ask you, just like take us through what that was all like. Yeah.
You're wonderful, Leslie. Yes, that's it was quite crazy. Specifically, well, backtracking a little bit because of the venue sell spots, that when I'm not physically at the table, once I give my merchandise product to the venues, they kind of sort everything out and display it, they count it, we agree on the gross numbers. I'm like, okay, so I gave you this much, you agree that this is this much after counting and for the prices, and then I'm basically good, with that. They I go and check in, make sure everything's good once the doors open. And obviously with these new poster stands that we'll have out, that's a little bit more of, the wheel, just making sure that is running like I want it to run. But yeah, I've, because I'm not always at the table, I've done some photography. I've mixed like 40 of the stream audios and like, helping mix that was, more like fall and spring tour. But, I kind of looking back, I'm like, I was there for like, literally mixing over 40 of those shows, almost every single one, while I was still, as soon as I was done with that, I would go back and settle with merchandise and whatnot. But so it kind of, I was double duty on all those. I've always done merch, but like, because I'm not at the table, I can kind of absorb these other tasks. And, really it's all of those tasks has been Peter just texting me and being like, hey, like, you want to try something else out? He's like, you want me to do a crash course? And I'm like, hell yeah, I do. Like, let's go. Like, I love it. I want to be challenged, and not that the merchandise isn't challenging itself, but when I'm not actually selling at the table, I'm a free range chicken. I can go and enjoy the show, which is great, but having another responsibility that's helping out this whole, organization and wheelhouse is what I'm there to do. So at this point, Peter kind of knows that, I'm like the Swiss Army knife of the group, where if he's going to ask,
like, fit in, he'll be there.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, just give me a crash course, and I'm there. So Cincinnati, basically, like, let's see, we got there, like, I think right before I landed, Peter texted me. It was like the day before, we had a rehearsal the day before, and he was like, hey, so like, we may need someone to do cam operations. We don't have anyone in the pit. Would you want to do it? I was like, of course. Yeah. Sign me up. That sounds great. The first day I really did not have much of a crash course. Like, I tried, but because I was setting up merchandise and making sure that was all good. And, because the poster line in itself, like, there was really no time where I had, just one-on-one time with Danny or, John to like really get the full effect of like utilizing this steady cam that I've literally never held until like early that afternoon. I also did, in the first night, did you all see when I like almost dropped the thing?
Yes.
I was laughing. I was like, oh,
because like the first time where I had like the battery pack on me, so I had like 4 things connected, and I was like messing with the battery pack. Thank God my reflexes are the way they are, because it like fell and I literally caught it, and I like looked back at like all of you on the rail and was just like, did anyone see that? Like, I could have just, that could have been the start and the end of my Steadicam career, it like within the first 30 seconds. But, so yeah, the first night, it was definitely a little more rough, I would say. I just I didn't know how to hold the camera and exactly how to like do the things I was supposed to do, because, the crash course was essentially like a 10-minute thing before the show of like, all right, this is what you're doing. Second night, we had a lot, and, I say that I just wanted to be, good. And you can obviously see all the shots that I did.
I was going to say, they were great. You did a great job, Naveed.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Leslie. So the second night, though, the second day afternoon, way more of a crash course. There's like a picture of like me and Brian Murphy and Danny and John, like, and they're like all around me, and they're like giving me all of the information, like, and then some. So I felt way more prepared going into the second night, in terms of like how the camera was affecting like my body and the way that I was like resting on it. And, I mean, it's a serious thing. Danny is like secretly very buff, because he's just like,
because he's holding that constantly. It's like all this arm and upper body strength
and not moving. Sure. Like, it just, I'm like, wow, a statue.
It's a serious skill for sure. So yeah, I basically, had a little bit more of a crash course and felt way more comfortable and way more like, okay, like this is what I got. I'm like doing zooms and like, getting better angles and stuff. And it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And what's funny about that whole process too, and how that camera, video world kind of works, is because John is a director, Danny and I, or whoever's in the camera crew, usually it's just John and Danny, and then the steady cams or like the stationary cams, that, coach will kind of flip through. But because it was just me and Danny and John, I can't talk back to John, but he only is talking to Danny and I. So he's like, all right, zoom, like camera 10, like, zoom, like get rig, hold, and like camera 10 off. And then I know that I'm done. But in no part of both shows am I able to communicate back with him with our system that we have currently, which made it a very interesting process sometimes. When he's like, especially the first night when he's like, all right, camera 10, zoom. And I'm like zooming, and then I can't zoom anymore. He's like, camera 10, zoom. He's like, zoom. I'm like, it's all the way zoom, dude.
I've zoomed all I can zoom.
It's zoom. Yeah. It was just like, it was just a funny, like, I love John. He's such an incredible human. I've learned so much from him, and like, he is truly like a big brother to me. And, but it was just so funny not being able to like respond back to some things that he was saying to me, and me, complying with the things that he was asking, because he was the director and I was first time with the camera trying to, figure out how to work this camera and give him the shots that he wanted. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm trying. Like, I'm just, but it was, I think we did great the first night. We did, we regrouped and really again, I got the knowledge that I needed the second night. And I think we crushed the second night. And, now if they need another Steadicam operator and I'm not at the table, I'm their guy.
Yeah, Naveed's just
There you
adding
go.
more tools to his Swiss Army knife. So I love it. Who knows what'll be next? I'm always amazed because you always see like Adam climbing on things and like up in the rafters. So I'm always amazed. I watch Adam and I'm like always, how did he get that shot? And then I started watching him more at shows and seeing like he's like climbing up catwalks and like getting into these little like crevices and stuff, which is just one scary, but also like such daredevil stuff for a photographer, to make sure they get the actual shot they want, which is fantastic.
An elusive monkey, I like to call him.
Yes, I love it.
It's a good
He
name
needs a
for it.
mug that says that. That's great.
He does.
Well, again, Naveed, thank you so much for joining us. We can't thank you enough. This was such a great, we just wanted to talk with you. We love you all. Everybody loves you so much. You don't understand when your name is even just brought up online. Everyone's like, Naveed. I mean, literally, we just have so much love for you and all the love that you show to us. And we know how hard it is to just even be dealing with like 50 people being like, can you hold up a medium? Let me see a small. I think I messaged you and I was like, they know what size they are. Like, come on, everybody. Let's stop making merch folks do that for you.
No, I appreciate
I know
that.
it's fine, and yeah, people need to.
No,
but
it
I just find it funny. It's like when people go to McDonald's and are like looking at the menu. I'm like, you don't know what you want at McDonald's? Come on,
Exactly. Yeah.
It hasn't changed in a while, so just like keep it going. So that's great. Can you let everyone know where they can follow you on all of the interwebs? Because you put up some cool stuff all the time, especially behind the scenes stuff, which we love to see.
Yes, no, I appreciate that, and I just adding on to that briefly, like all the trials and tribulations of the stuff at any point, just seeing you all like just being there and being present and just, again, getting the whole experience and wanting to continue out. It makes every negative thing that, that fits kind of in this little box, like just kind of disappear sometimes. So it really is a two-way street, and I love you all and look forward to seeing everyone's faces in multiple different cities for the years to come.
You'll see us. We're going to be out there. So yeah, you'll see us.
Yeah, I bet you. Good. All the cities. But yes, I Commander _Q is my Instagram handle. That was given to me by some friends in college because I was the one rounding everyone up, and they'd be like, all right, Commander. And then, so it was not a self-titled name. That's
but so this has been a lifelong role you've played, Naveed, is what you're saying to me.
So I try and fit into this role daily, actually, Leslie. But at this point, we're the levels are semi there. We're reaching midpoints, and but yeah, Commander Q, please follow me and let me know if you have any questions with merchandise or anything like that. As much as I can say, I will. And regardless, I appreciate you all and. Listening to this, I appreciate you all doing this podcast in general, and all the listeners and the viewers. Thank you for, keeping up with all the awesome people that are, kind of making this band even more rounded out with all the things that, people spend their time to do that, it's such a awesome thing and a just a, rewarding thing on all of our parts, me speaking specifically, just awesome to see that people, care enough to spend their time to talk about, these certain things. And there's so much more to come, and it's going to be a wonderful year, 2023. So thank you all.
Thank you. We're so excited for this year.
So
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, y'all, I don't know. Naveed gave us everything that we needed to get, which was amazing. Thank you again, Naveed, for joining us, especially from vacation in this little bit of time that you all have on break before the cap run and then spring tour kicks off. And I'm sure all the other fun stuff that Goose has planned for us. Thanks for joining us again for this show. We do want to hear from you. We have a voicemail line set up for all the Goose Chicks and all the fans. You can call, whether you're a Goose Chick or just a fan of Goose or any other music band, to share your experiences within the scene. You can call 704-275-3128 to leave us a message, and it might get played on the show. This week, we're asking folks to call in and tell us which Goose poster is your favorite, whether you own it or don't. Let us know what's the one that really got your eyes twinkling and your heart aflutter. And again, that number is 704-275-3128. 3128.
Goose Chicks podcast is produced by Leslie Mack with support from sound engineer Matt Dwyer, co-host Alexius Lipo, and contributors Chelsea Long, that's me, and Hannah Liebreich.
Special thanks to our sponsor, Ben and Jerry's, for their support, especially Jay Curley, Jay Tandon, and their entire team.
We are proud members of the Osiris Media family. You can check us out on socials at Goose Chicks Pod and on our website, goosechickspod.com. As always, we encourage our listeners to support the Western Sun Foundation. Visit westernsunfoundation.org for more information.
And remember to subscribe and leave us a review in your favorite podcast app. Also, tell a friend about the show. It really helps us out. Don't forget to call our number and leave us a message, 704-275-3128. Until next time, be kind to each other out there.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Osiris.